Okay, so I've had a lot of people ask me how I make Riley's food, and so I'm going to go through it. I'm going to list all the ingredients first, and then we're going to go through the process of actually making Riley's food. It takes a good part of a day, a couple hours at least, simply because the sweet potatoes and the rice and the pearl barley take a certain amount of time to cook. Really, that's the sweet potatoes take the longest, I think, of anything here. All right, so let's take a look at the ingredients. Okay, so here we have 3 yams and 3 sweet potatoes. My hand's there to give you an idea of how big they are. You can certainly add more or less depending upon the volume of food that you want. I add 1 extra small bag. What size bag? That is a 1-pound bag of cut green beans. There are 6 cups of pearl barley, a 32-ounce, so 2 pounds of frozen blueberries. And if you have access to fresh, use fresh. I just happen to be using frozen because that's the next best thing. Okay. I use 4 bags of Flavor Fiesta. One of the reasons I use Flavor Fiesta is because it has a lot of good things, and it has broccoli as well as some great northern beans, kidney beans, black beans. So those beans are kind of critical for some of the proteins and some of the enzymes and stuff that the dogs will need. So rather than put in beans separately, I use Flavor Fiesta. Okay, plus it adds broccoli. They like broccoli. I use 3 bags, okay, of chopped spinach. Each of these bags is 28 ounces, so they're the largest ones that I can find at Winco. Use as many cranberries as you want, okay? So these are just standard cranberries, dried cranberries. There's probably, I don't know, maybe about 2 to 3 pounds there. And that's for urinary tract stuff, really good for them. I have a rice cooker set up to cook 5.5 I don't know what they call it, 5.5 servings, basically, of brown rice, okay, which is another one of the starches that are in this particular one. I use about 3 pounds of beef, fairly lean if I can find it. Sometimes I will use ground beef if I'm having trouble finding regular beef at a decent price. I use 1 full thing of beef heart, and it's not like an entire beef heart. This one happens to be a little over 2 pounds, okay? And again, I get that from Winco. I'm using 3 large containers of 100% pumpkin, 1 apple. If your dog is more tolerant to apple, then you can use more apple. Riley doesn't do well with a lot of apple, and so I only put 1 in there for its nutrient values. And then I add 4 additional carrots. There is one more thing that I add that I seem to have forgotten to put on this table, so I'm going to run over here and look in the fridge here and find you wherever you happen to be. Anyway, what I'm looking for is beef liver. Usually I will add a little bit of beef liver along with the heart, and I'm not sure where it is, but I will, oh, there they are. Okay, there they are. There's the 2 pieces of beef liver. And so those are all the ingredients. Should make about 2.5 weeks worth of food, and Riley does share some of the food with the rest of the dogs. And I'll talk about that when we actually get there. Cool. Here we go. Okay, so phase 1, the potatoes or the sweet potatoes and the yams. I generally do it on 1 tray. Generally that is big enough. If you need to use more than that, that's fine. This is a commercial aluminum tray. and I will go ahead and I will cube these up and put them in here. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and throw some olive oil on there. Lots and lots of olive oil. Dogs need good fats, and olive oil is certainly among those. Okay. And that makes it so the potatoes stick a little bit less, and dogs need the oil. Okay. So I'll show you how I normally do these. Normally I will sit here and I will go ahead and cut both ends off. Okay, put that kind of off to the side. And these can be some really wonky sizes. Okay, and so what I'll tend to do is kind of knock it down to 2 sizes that I can deal with. Okay, and what I'm trying to do is cube this into I don't know, about 1/2 inch cube pieces. I'm leaving the skin intact because, of course, the skin contains nutrients that are not inside of the potato, and I'm sure that it's better for them. Okay, so this is kind of showing you the size. Yeah, I would say that's, about 1/2 inch cubes. Cutting them apart, same as you would for like clam chowder, one of my favorite foods. Anyway, so cube these up, do the same thing to the yams as you do to the sweet potatoes, and we're going to put them all just kind of in this tray on top of the olive oil, and then I'm actually going to put more olive oil on top. Okay, I just poured the pearl barley into this brothy, beefy cubey mix. Like I said, sometimes I'll pull the beef out, but this time I decided to not do that. Anyway, it's in here. This will have to cook for quite a while. I don't have a time for you because it's a matter of I get it to a good boil and then I turn it way down, which is a normal way you cook pearl barley. And then you kind of just have to wait until it's really soft enough. If you do not cook it long enough, it's all just going to come out in the dog's poop, okay? But if you do cook it long enough and wait until it's nice and soft and puffy, then they'll be able to digest it just fine. Okay, so rice cookers, real rice cookers, you put a certain amount in from the scoop that they give you, okay, and this rice cooker is designed to go to 5.5, and so that's what I do with this one. As far as what I use as water in here, generally I'll put a tablespoon of better than bouillon vegetable, okay? Riley's not a fan of flying things, otherwise I might use chicken, but in this case I'm going to go ahead and use vegetable base, all right? Now since this jar was almost empty, I'm just filling it with warm water and I'm kind of mixing it all together. Now, if you want to, you can also add a couple good squirts of minced ginger into this and mix it all in before you tell it to go ahead and start cooking. This particular rice cooker also wants to sit for ½ an hour, so once I fill this up to 5.5, it wants to just soak for ½ an hour, and then I'll tell it to go ahead and cook. And you can cook it whenever you want to because these rice cookers, especially the good ones, are insulated, and so they can sit there and preserve rice for extended periods of time, which is kind of nice. Okay, so for the beef and the heart, I'm using an 8-quart nonstick pan in this particular case. The reason this pan is so big will be explained later on. But there's other ingredients that go in as the beef starts to finish cooking, just to help. It helps distribute all of this inside of the food when I actually mix it all together. But you'll see when we actually get there, and I'll show you what I'm going to food process that also goes into this particular meal, because I evidently forgot to tell you about eggs. So I will show you. I generally put 3 to 4 eggs in, depending upon whether they're duck or chicken. If they're duck, I only do 3. If it's chicken, I'll do 4. Anyway, so the beef is going to go in this 8-quart pan. The rest of the beef is sitting over there in that 10-quart pan, and it is set to boil right now. Okay, so while the beef is making broth, okay, I have cut up all the meat, and these are more like 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch chunks. That one happens to be heart. And then I'm going to go ahead and pour some oil in here as well, because you don't want this stuff sticking. Okay, again, I'm using olive oil because it's the best for you, but I also use avocado oil, which has the same relative properties, just trying to remember what it has just slightly less of. But anyway, they're both exceptionally healthy oils for you. So now I'm going to grind up a little bit this Flavor Fiesta stuff. It's by Flavor Pack. I used to have to buy beans separately until I found this particular blend of frozen vegetables. And so when it comes time to blending them, I don't want to blend a tremendous amount because I don't want it to turn into mush, but these beans, they need to be broken up a little bit so that they'll digest better. And will get a chance to be digested when they're in the large intestine. So I will do that with these, and I will do that with the small bag of frozen green beans, and add that into my big mixing bucket. Okay, so this is what the consistency of the carrot and apple looks like once I've food processored it really good. And so now I'm go ahead and add this and mix this in. Okay, there's Barnum. He's in the way. Hello, Barnum. Okay. So that is they look about done. What I'm gonna do now is probably just turn off the oven and let them sit there and continue to mildly cook while I continue making the rest of the recipe. This continues to cook a bit. Oops, sorry. You just want to leave it a little bit of a burble, kind of like you're cooking rice. That's kind of the way pearled barley works. So there's no timer on this. You're just going to have to figure it out. And there's the meat. Have not started cooking it yet. Let's make this again. Okay, so I am adding the spinach. Again, you don't have to add these components in any particular order. I do find that it's easiest if you mix just about every time you dump things in. So right now I'm just dumping these 3 bags of chopped spinach in here just to get those bags of spinach out of my way. Not because this is the time to put them in or anything, it's just they've been sitting, so they're defrosted, and I'm just going to get them out of these bags. Okay, so here's kind of a weird little thing that I happen to do. Oops, I didn't turn off Star Trek. I was playing in the other room. I had some Worcestershire sauce. I don't think Riley would really ever care, but that is really the one flavoring that I actually add is a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. I don't know why that is. Anyway. Okay, we're getting close to being done. Now this is what the, wow, I don't know what to call that. Liquid pate, I don't know. It kind of makes the blender really disgusting, or the food processor really disgusting. And since the beef is already pretty much cooked, all right, and don't worry about the juices or the fat, it's good for them. What I'm gonna do is end up pouring this into there. And then I'm going to scrape it out, and I can't do that while I'm holding the phone, but I'm going to scrape it out. And then on top of that, I'm going to put the pumpkin and let that all heat up together and burble and become one big pot of stuff. It can be a real pain to get the like little crunchy eggshells. So don't be afraid to put some water in here to help you get it into here. Just save as much of it as you can and scrape and all sorts of good stuff like that. And then you let this cook for a little while before you add that, because you want the eggs to be pretty much cooked before you start to add that stuff over there. Okay, so I added the pumpkin on top. Okay, and I put a lid on it because I really want it to warm all the way through. But you'll see it's just sitting on top here. The eggs have pretty much cooked. I can see that by the white kind of curdly looking thing, that those are eggs. And now it's just got to warm up and burble a little bit until the pumpkin is warm enough to actually stir in. And then as soon as it's thoroughly stirred in, it's ready to go in. And then I'm going to finish the mix with the pearl barley. You can see it's very spongy. I can squish it with my fingers. Be sure you can do that before you consider it done. And it's okay if there's no moisture left, and it's okay if there's a little bit of moisture left. It freezes better with the least amount of moisture that you can have in it. Anyway, that's kind of what I've discovered. Okay, now a quick bit about mixing. I use the super heavy-duty stainless steel thing. I had a really nice aluminum one, but it finally broke. It was a cast aluminum one, which worked really, really well, but the stainless steel one also works really, really well. It just has to be heavy, long, and big to work at stirring this stuff. Now, I'm not done with everything, but I'm going to go ahead and stir this up a little bit so that it makes it easier to stir stuff together later on. All right, as I put other things on top of it, I could go ahead and put the cubed sweet potatoes and stuff on here, because they are actually done, and that would help break this up even more. Another reason I let it defrost is because it breaks up, all of these vegetables and stuff break up so much easier when they're defrosted a little bit. The exception is the meat. I find easier to cut up when you leave it, well, when it's still partially frozen, because it's solid and it's easier to cut into cubes manually that way. Okay, so it's all mixed together now, all done, and generally one big heaping spoon like this is one meal for Riley. Okay, generally there's about 2 of these in a to-go container, so the rest gets kind of divided up among the other clumbers. Okay, anyway, this is all mixed and ready to go, and what I will do is, after it cools down just a little bit, I will put it in little black to-go containers with clear lids and freeze it. And that is how we make Riley food. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped.